say, Susan, I know that if people are afraid to really show how vulnerable that they truly are, do you say that vulnerability is actually the first step to true intimacy?
Yeah. You must get beyond your fear into vulnerability. You know, every day I speak to people who have fears, as you probably do, and I certainly have had, and I do from time to time. The only difference between someone who doesn't have the tools and someone, me, who does, is that I identify fear when it appears, and fear can look many different ways. Negative thoughts is a form of fear. Jealousy is a form of fear. Any sense of hopelessness, as Gigi described worry, those are all fear. So you get right down to it. You practice self-empathy. I'm feeling scared because I really need affection. Breathe. And I'm feeling worried because I need connection with that person I care about. And I'm feeling really anxious because I want that experience of joy and touch now. Breathe. And you keep doing that with slightly different words because you have a bunch of needs, slightly different feelings and needs, until you're calm. And if you catch yourself the minute you start to go into fear, then you'll get through it. After some practice, you'll get through it in a couple of minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It has to be within 4.5 minutes. You can't let yourself hold on to fear longer than that. When you do, other people start to feel it. Even if they're thousands of miles away, they'll feel it. You know, you are telegraphing that. So you practice self-empathy, you bring yourself back to peace, then you return to vulnerability. That's the key. And when you're in that vulnerable state, you're desirable, you're delicious, people want you.
Oh, perfectly put, Susan. Oh my gosh. There you go. That eliminates the fear, right? Absolutely, to be the witness when it does come up. Now, how about explaining to us about the 6-part conversation that you've created and how this, in fact, really builds intimacy?
So if we say that living in fear is the barrier, and thank you, Fred, for putting the 6-part on the board, the screen for us. So look at that. Self-empathy, you bring yourself to peace. You self-soothe. You learn how to notice when you're scared or when you're angry or when you're sad. And within 4.5 minutes or less, you need to be able to bring yourself back. And here's the key. You need to be sure that you do not express fear, anger, or sadness. No really fabulous man or woman will be in a lifelong relationship with you, or even a long-term relationship with you, if you still have these habits. I guarantee it. No really great man or woman will tolerate this. Nobody wants to deal with your fear that you're unconscious of, but you're acting out. Nobody wants to deal with your anger. That's the least attractive and appealing and tolerable. And nobody is going to stick around for your sadness. And I don't care how committed somebody says they are, because what they're going to do is they're just going to disconnect. You may see them sitting in the room with you, but they're not there. And that's not what you want. You want somebody who's deeply intimate and joyously connected and who adores you, who you adore. That's what you're looking for. And that's what that one tool can get for you. So then, empathy for that person. Once in a blue moon, when he or she loses it, you need to be able to calm them down with empathy. Then self-expression. Let's say there's something you want to motivate them to do or not do. So you don't tell them right up front. You connect with them first. You empathize with them first from a place where you're vulnerable and open. And then you express yourself, and then they're listening. And then you work through 4 and 5, if needed, which is a form of negotiation and mediation. And then you get to part 6, which is solution. That we're going to go on a vacation to that place, or yes, we're going to invest in that property, or yes, we're going to do whatever it is in the bedroom, or yes, we're going to, whatever it is. Because as a couple, you have to be able to speak about anything and everything You have to be able to speak your truth. You have to be able to hear your partner. And you have to do it in a loving, compassion, open, honest way. And boy, if you get triggered when they speak their truth, that's the beginning of the end of the relationship. If you react with fear, anger, or sadness, it's on its way to being over. In fact, it's already ended. So,
Thank you for the clarity on that. It's so important. Now, explain to us, if love is really different for different people, how can some people really be sure that they have the right partner with whom they can experience lifelong intimacy?
you're going to love this quote. This is my new favorite author. If you want to learn about passion, if you want to learn about sex, if you want to learn about emotional intimacy, if this is something you've never experienced before, and you want a really hot read, Eric Jerome Dickey is your guy. And I'm going to read this to you from his book, Decadence. And boy, this makes 50 Shades of Grey look boring and stupid, in my opinion. Decadence is that fabulous. All right. You made me want you like no other. Madly in love with you as I have loved no other. But why? You can't question what has no answer. If I knew, then it would not be true love. It would have because attached. I love you because of this reason or that reason. Real love has no because attached. How did you get to that point? What do you mean? I ask you that with envy. I've been there, but I've never been able to return to that place. How do you conquer the fear? I ask you that truly wanting to know how. How? Again, I have been in love before a few times, not all at the same depth, but each affair ended. How do you get back to that point? How do you end a war, then go back into battle before the shrapnel marks have healed? How? After all this time, after so many conversations, how did you not get to that point with me?
Oh my. Oh,
So
I know there's more.
to answer the question, the man who's speaking, who understands that love has no because attached, that's the person you're looking for. It could be a man, it could be a woman. I live that. I understand that. Many people do. Not too many, but many people. The woman who says she's never turned the corner is the woman you avoid, the person you avoid. Because as one of my dear, dear friends once said to me, Alexis, he said, you have to turn the corner to forgive me. You have to just be willing to turn the corner. Turn the corner. He said, yeah, you just keep walking ahead and you turn the corner. And then when you look back, you can't see what transpired anymore.
Oh, gosh.
Very wise.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
very
that,
wise.
Susan. Guy, we all want this. Now, okay, moving forward, so often we hear about people getting and staying angry, a long-term relationship. These anger issues, how do they affect the intimacy? And above all else, what is the permanent solution?
So if you think of the biology of a man and a woman, which I've started to speak about recently because I think it's such an important realization. So a man is having sex with a woman. He is placing part of himself inside the body of a stranger. Imagine how not only scary but dangerous that is when this woman is an anger addict, when she has a habit of anger. Even when she's gotten angry maybe twice in years, you never know when the third time is coming, do you? Now flip that. Now it's even more scary when you think of the life of a woman. So a woman has sex with a man, he enters inside of her body. imagine if that man is someone she has seen as angry. Does this make any sense that she would want this? Does it make any sense she would tolerate or allow this angry, dangerous, frightening man anywhere near her? Well, believe me, those women who have heard me start to talk about this, on your shows are starting to think about it in this way. This is dangerous. This is not innocent danger. This is danger.
Yes.
This is not soft core danger. This is not, even the lightest, mildest form of BDSM. This is danger. This is don't let somebody angry into your home is the logical decision. You know what almost happened to me, guys. So, I'm here. I'm safe now. But I had some fanciful idea of somebody who I knew had a temper, would never have that temper against me. Please know, if they have a temper, your turn's coming. That's what I've discovered.
That's perfectly put again, Susan. And you think that it could be different with you, that, it won't happen. But once again, the reality is it shows up. It's a pattern, unfortunately. A pattern for you to avoid.
Yes, precisely.
Now, how do you go about teaching women to avoid minefield of fear?
Well, the only way to really move yourself beyond an old behavior, an addiction that you have to a behavior, is to face what you've lost, what it's costing you. I was speaking to a lovely woman today, and we were talking about what fear had cost her. I was speaking to 3 women, and 1 man yesterday about what fear had cost them. Now, I speak to people about a lot of other things. It just happened to be that this topic of fear was, very much present with each of these people. What has fear cost you? So when you realize, as I certainly did, what fear cost me, from the minute that dangerous, frightening, and devastating marriage ended, I started doing work on myself. I mean, instantaneously, I started asking, okay, who do you know? Who can I talk to? Who's an expert in domestic violence? Who's an expert in violence of any kind? Whatever the specifics. And immediately, and remember, I had already worked on myself for, 35 years. So it wasn't that one would think there was a lot more that I needed to learn. But the beauty of this, the more you understand yourself, the more you understand other people, the more you want to understand everything there is to understand. I'm learning more about myself every single day. I learned something about myself last night that I had to jump up and write down because I couldn't believe it. We'll talk to you about it later. I was just really stunned that there's more for me to learn about vulnerability. It was about vulnerability and intimacy. Like, wow. So yeah.
That's a big one. And we want to keep growing and learning, doing our inner work, so we do have more to contribute.
And I hate to say it, but the moment of your life when you need that greatest vulnerability is not when you give up your virginity. It's not when you get married. It's not when you reconnect or connect to someone in a deep, loving, intimate, joyous, sexual bond. It's at the moment of death. If you're not prepared for total vulnerability in the face of the unknown, you will remember what I said and regret it at the moment of death. And you'll watch other people die before you, and you'll know the ones who have prepared. And I prepare all the time. Letting go is nothing more than letting go, no matter what the circumstance.
Thank you for reflecting on that. That is something that...
And we've done shows about that, and I think maybe we
Yes.
have to do another one at some point this summer.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inevitable, right? Now, I know that when you work with men, you do teach them differently so that they can move beyond their fear and create a deep love in their lives, both for their partners and for their families. How do you teach them about this?
Well, it's interesting. I come from the East Coast, from New York, as you know, and I've been in California since 1991. And men in California, thank God, have a different training. Men in California all the friends I've met and, colleagues, clients, and the few men I've dated, they're very different. They're much more open to expressing love. They're much more aware that men can cry, men do cry, that men need to tell their family and their loved ones that they love them. It's a California thing for men and women to be much more alike in this. But for the rest of you who watch this, because this is on YouTube, people see this all around the world. This is something, if you don't know this, or your husband doesn't know this, or your partner doesn't know this, or your son doesn't know this, or even your father doesn't know this, you need to explain this by demonstration. The only way a man is going to feel safe to express love is for you to express love to him. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Expressing love to someone who's afraid to talk about love is the greatest gift that you can give that person. Talking about any kind of love, I don't mean judging him, and I don't mean blaming him, and I don't mean demanding of him. But speaking about that experience of love brings love to someone who clearly hasn't had the training. It's not that they don't feel it. They do feel it. If you ever see a man and a dog, men and dogs are, doing what their wives and their girlfriends have been begging them to do for decades, right?
Yes.
They're just present with their dogs. They don't feel judged. They don't feel like they have to. Nobody's demanding anything. And so they're able to be very caring and very loving by and large. So giving love to someone who's afraid to talk about love is the greatest gift that you can give.
That's beautiful. And how often people feel this, but they don't put it into words.
Because they're waiting. Oh, he was supposed to say it first, really? In what book?
Exactly. He should know that.
Yeah. The rules. Oh, my God. I have a client who, thank God, she's such a smart woman. Thank God. And it only took like 2 sessions for us to basically destroy every one of the rules in the book. Crazy, crazy stuff. And after 2 sessions of, basically trashing and burning that to the ground, she's having a wonderful time, wonderful life, dating guys, really seeing who's the right guy for her. It's a pleasure.
I'm glad you pointed that out. So many people recommended that to me. I couldn't even get through that book.
Oh, it's horrible. It's punitive with a capital P. Oh, my God. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. How could you ever get in touch with your feelings for somebody if you're so busy don'ting,
Yeah, lots of rules
Terrible.
to break.
For us, right, for us. I think I'll do that one. Okay, good. Yeah.